What's up, guys? I'm ready. I'm excited.
What are you more excited for this weekend, BYU Utah or your debut as a radio analyst for the Baltimore Ravens?
I'm equally excited for both. Saturday, I'll be really excited for the game. And then Sunday, I will be, very excited to be able to be on the radio. So, I was there.
You finally get to show what you can do, right? To a national audience. Like, are you looking?
Besides this, is that what you're saying?
You licking your chops as an
Besides this.
NFL analyst? Yeah, besides BYU Sports Nation.
So Bronson Kafusi, defensive lineman for the Ravens. We'll talk BYU Utah in a sec. What do you expect from him as the BYU Raven, if you will?
Yeah, Bronson's a good player, and he's still really young. He's got a lot to learn, but he's got a ton of potential. He'll come off the bench, and he'll be able to play a lot in this first game, but, it's going to be an opportunity for him to kind of get his feet wet and see what regular season football is all about. It's very different than what he's experienced in the preseason, and I'm excited for him. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him in Baltimore, and, hopefully he can make a big impact.
Fantastic stuff. Dennis Pitta with us on BYU Sports Nation. It is rivalry week, as we have chronicled very well. Take us inside the locker room during rivalry week at BYU. What does the feel like in there, and how is it different than other weeks and other games that you play in as a collegiate athlete?
Well, it's a lot of the same feel. The week is structured the same. Everything's, from a football standpoint, very much the same. What's different is the sense of urgency, and especially with this week and this year. Well, when's the last time we beat Utah? Was it 7 years ago, 8 years ago? Honestly,
7 years ago, 6 games ago.
You played on that team, right? Dennis.
09.
I was in that game. That's shocking that that's the last time that we actually beat them. So there's going to be a big sense of urgency this week, because this is a must-win game in my opinion, and a lot of fans' opinions, around Utah. And so, you can't go another year losing to Utah. And I think everybody in the program understands that. There's going to be a big sense of urgency, and the work ethic and practice intensity, I think, will be ratcheted up this week, in anticipation for that.
So our Twitter question today is, why will the outcome of this year's BYU versus Utah game be different than the last 6, or will it? What do you think?
I sure hope the outcome's different. I think it's going to be the big challenge going up against them this week. I think they're a good football team. I watched them a little bit in their first game. They have a mobile quarterback. They always have a good stout defense and perimeter players that can play tight man coverage, which is going to give us fits. So I think the key to this game for us offensively is establishing a run game. And really that's been the difficult part in the start of this season. We haven't been able to really establish an identity, especially in the run game. This offense that Ty Detmer runs is a pro-style offense, and it's predicated on our ability to run the football. We saw that last year. We had Jamal Williams, and really Taysom Hill was a factor in that as well, being able to run the football. We were so effective at it that everything else became a lot easier off of that. The nakeds, the keepers, the bootlegs, all that kind of stuff is so much easier when you're effective running the ball on first and second down. And we've been ineffective this year doing that, and it's made everything so much more difficult. Tanner hasn't looked comfortable. The offensive line has been struggling because, it's just everything kind of falls apart when you're struggling to get yards on first and second down and struggling to run the football, because this offense it's so important to what we do.
How much does what happened against LSU, top 10 caliber team, athletic, strong, elite level college football, how much, because of what happened against the LSU Tigers, are you concerned about BYU's chances against Utah specifically?
Well, there's obviously a level of concern, especially with our offense, over the last 2 weeks. LSU was kind of a different beast, though, and I was really impressed with LSU, how they played in that game. I think with their new offensive coordinator and the system that they're running now, being able to utilize a combination of Geis and that other running back, they were really effective in all the misdirection and stuff that they did, and then big shots down the field. I kind of knew that was going to be their game plan going in, be able to establish the run and then take big play action shots. And they were able to do that. And that's going to be, really effective for them throughout all the season. So I expect LSU to be a really good team when all is said and done after the season. So it's tough to gauge us against top-level talent like that. Utah will not be that same beast. Utah will be a different team. But Utah is going to be, have its challenges, for our defense because they have a mobile quarterback and a guy that can escape the pocket and run. That's, traditionally always given us fits. I think back to 2010 when we played Florida State and Christian Ponder was the quarterback. Every third down, it seemed like he was scrambling for a first down. We could not get off the field defensively. And so over the years, scrambling quarterbacks have kind of been, an Achilles heel for us. And, I just hope that's not, the case this year. And I don't think it will be as much of an issue. But if we can slow him down and, kind of get ourselves and gather ourselves offensively, we'll be okay.
Yeah, the hope with a scrambling quarterback is that his legs are fine, but his arm's not as good. LSU was one thing, and Utah's closer to LSU than they were Portland State, but they're no LSU. But let's rewind back to 2008. The quest for perfection's on. You guys are 5-0. You go into TCU. That was a similarly disappointing loss to like LSU where it's like, oh, geez, what happened? How did the team pick themselves up after that to win the next couple of games in 2008, like BYU's trying to do right now?
Yeah, the quest for perfection, that was a fun time. That lasted all of about 3 weeks or so.
I love seeing the
we
shirts
really put
around.
a target on our back for that one, didn't we?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Thanks, Bronco.
that's the thing. What do you do mentally though? Like when you get beat by a team, I mean, it was a 25-point loss to TCU. What do you do mentally to recover after something like that?
Well, we were a confident team. We knew what we were capable of. For whatever reason, TCU had our number that year. I mean, I remember specifically in that game, I'd split out on one side or the other, and I had an out route, for example, and their linebackers and their safeties were yelling, watch the out route, watch the out route. And I'm sitting there like, well, this isn't going to be too good. And I mean, for whatever reason, they had our number, and they knew very well what we were trying to do and found a way to shut it down. I mean, I think TCU, and you've seen that over the years, is a very well-coached team with Gary Patterson. And as a matter of fact, we met his son, didn't we, Spencer?
Yes, we did.
At the BYU game.
On the
field.
field.
That was a funny story. Jared wasn't there for that.
Yeah, Gary Patterson's son at the BYU Portland State game.
What was he doing there?
On the second row. He goes to BYU.
He goes to
He's a
BYU?
student.
He's a BYU student, and he was still rocking like a TCU lanyard, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a non-athlete.
BYU T-shirt.
He's just a
TCU
regular
lanyard.
student here?
Yeah.
That's random and
Shout out to the Gary Patterson
Did he have a
family.
visor on?
No visor. No visor.
No visor.
Dennis Pitta with us on BYU Sports Nation. Dennis, we kind of feel like there are a few reasons that just maybe this game will be different in favor of BYU, and we chronicled those. So to give you a brief recap, BYU's playing at home for the first time in 4 years against Utah. So home factor. They are a 1-point favorite because they're in Provo. Also, Utah, they're starting a young, athletic, talented, we think talented quarterback, but this is his first road start at the Division I level and happens to come against BYU. Can they rattle him? And the offensive line lost some serious talent on Utah to the NFL. So is that enough? Is that enough to alter the outcome compared to the last 6 years?
I think so. I do expect the outcome of this game to be different than years past. And for the factors that you mentioned, first and foremost, being at home plays in our favor tremendously. And, I didn't realize we haven't played them at home for 4 years. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's either been a neutral site or up there. And so, our home crowd in those games is always tremendous. And I expect that to be a big factor. I don't think they'll be able to run the ball nearly as well as they have in years past with the stable of running backs that they put in the NFL. And so, I expect this game to be close like it always is. And it's going to come down to the last, final few minutes, final few plays. But I do see us, and I see us rebounding because we've had kind of a rocky start to the season, and one in which, we all didn't really anticipate. We thought we were going to see a more potent offense I think the defense has played pretty well, and will get some confidence, over those 2 weeks. But now to show that they're capable of producing points and consistently moving the ball, and so I expect it to be very different this Saturday for sure.
Dennis, great stuff. You're now on a quest for broadcast perfection, and we wish you the best.
Broadcast